Hi there, my name is Alex, and I'm going to take you through Toon Animation's industry standard animation software, Harmony 24. With Harmony 24, we have made several improvements to the 2D, 3D integration within the software, and we'll be going through some of those new features within this video. Notably, one of the new improvements that we've made is to the technology that we use to render and work with 3D models within the software. We now use the Vulkan scene graph, making it a lot easier to manipulate and work with high-quality 3D models within the software. But let's have a look at the welcome screen to Harmony. So here's our welcome screen. This is where you're going to be able to name your scene. You can choose the storage location from this point as well. And you have the option to choose the resolution that you're going to be working at. As you can see, we have several different options to choose from all the way down at 240p, all the way up to 4K and 8K. It's very important being able to work within 4K and 8K natively within our software, as the majority of streaming services utilize these resolutions for their productions. We're going to start off by having a look at the interface of Toon Harmony, and then move into looking at some of the drawing tool improvements that we've made. So let's dive into our scene. We're going to have a look at the workspace of Toon Harmony and then start going through the different drawing tools that you have available within the software. So here we have the user interface, or the workspace. We have several different windows that we can work within, and each of these windows has several different tabs. These tabs can be added by clicking on the plus button or removed by clicking on the X button. We also have a very useful library where you can create and store what are known as TPLs, or templates. These templates can range from your reference material to character rigs, completed animation, backgrounds, etc. You'll be creating library folders to save all of these templates within them. And anyone that has access to these folders will have access to the templates and can use them and reuse them throughout the course of the animation. So we're going to start by having a look at our drawing tools. Within Toon Harmony, you can work with both bitmap and vector drawing tools, and we have some examples within our scene. So here we have our character drawn with a bitmap brush. You will notice that when working with bitmap, that some of the tools will be grayed out and non-selectable. However, we can work with our select tool. If I select my artwork, you can see that I can squash and stretch, I can skew, and I can rotate these drawings. However, when working with bitmap, you have one flat drawing. So here we have our character drawn with a bitmap brush. You'll notice that some of your tools are grayed out when working with bitmap, but you do have access to your select tool. With your select tool, you can select your artwork, and you can squash and stretch, skew, and rotate your artwork with your select tool. It's important to remember that when working with your bitmap brush, that the artwork you create will be flattened, and you won't be able to select the individual strokes that you made to create your artwork. So let's now have a look at the vector brush tool. So here we have our character drawn with the vector brush. Using my select tool, I can now select the individual lines that were used to create this drawing. I also have access to my contour editor. With this, I can select my brush strokes and use the contour lines or contour points to modify the thickness of the line to create some really nice aesthetic values to my artwork. I also have access to a centerline editor, which will allow me to see the center line of my brushstroke and once again use it to modify or adjust the path of my brushstroke to clean up my artwork. Now we're going to have a look at creating your brushes, both your bitmap and your vector brushes, as we have added some improvements to these tools. So with my brush tool selected, if I go to my Tool Properties tab, I can find some presets that I can use. I can also click on this button to open up my vector brush properties, and with the textured vector selected, I will have access to the randomness settings. This is a new feature that we've added to our drawing tool, specifically our brush. allowing you to control the randomization of the textures on your brush strokes. If I manipulate my sliders, from our preview, we can see how we can make adjustments to our randomization of our textures to create some really nice natural looking brushes within the software. This feature is also available with your bitmap brush, so feel free to go ahead and create some really nice brushes within Harmony. We're also now going to have a look at our pencil tool and the improvements that we've made to that. We also added a new symmetry guide, which is very useful for creating characters or backgrounds very quickly within the software. So let's have a look. If you select your pencil, under your tool properties, you will also find some presets that you can use. You can click here once again to open up your pencil properties. And now you'll notice that we have the maximum and minimum opacity settings. Manipulating these will allow you to control the opacity levels of your pencil within the software. You can also click here to open up your opacity properties. And from here, you can determine how these opacity levels are generated, whether it be by the pen pressure, the tilt or angle of the pen as you're drawing, or the speed at which you're drawing at. So I'm going to utilize one of these pencils to show off the new symmetry guide and clean up our character that you see on the screen. I'm going to turn on my light table to wash my reference, and I'm going to find my Guides tab. Under your guides, you can find your perspective guides and our new symmetry guides. You have access to your dual axis, your horizontal, and your vertical symmetry. We're going to add a vertical symmetry guide, and once you have a drawing tool selected, it will appear on your screen. You can move this guide around and rotate it to suit the angle that you need, or hit Ctrl Z to reset it to its original orientation. I'm going to lock my guide, select the drawing I want to work on, and I'm actually going to utilize one of our stabilizers that we have within the software, the pull string. This will allow me to easily control my line as I trace my artwork, as you see here. If I want to turn off my symmetry guide, all I have to do is deselect it. In this case, I want to now draw her collar. So with my pull string, I'm going to quickly add her collar here, just like that. Now you'll notice I have several overhanging lines on my drawing. We have a special tool that we can utilize called the cutter tool. Let's have a look. Under our select tool, you can find your cutter tool. On your tool properties, you can find the different modes that you can work with. We have the single line cutting gesture and the multiple lines cutting gesture. With the single line cutting gesture, you have the option of cutting away all of your overhanging lines very easily to clean up your artwork. And if you want to work even faster, you can use your multiple lines cutting gesture and slice across multiple lines at a time, making it very easy to clean up your artwork. So these are just some of the new drawing tool improvements that we've made to Toon Boom Harmony 24. From here, we're going to have a look at the features that support paperless animation within our software. Harmony 24 has several different features that you can use to create your paperless animation. Of course, any good animation starts with your animatic, and I have one in my library. So I'm going to drag my animatic into my camera view, and I can play this back. Now this is one option, but because of the integration with Storyboard Pro and Harmony, you can actually export your storyboard scenes as Harmony scene files, exporting all of your storyboard information into your Harmony scene for you to reference for your animation. Now let's have a look at the different stages of the paperless animation pipeline using another template. I'm going to select my paperless animation template and drag and drop it into my timeline. Now you notice that my timeline has several different areas that have been marked off. This was done using our scene markers, a great way to section off different areas of your timeline to review your animation. Of course, every animation starts with roughs, so I'm going to click on the roughs option from my scene markers tab. We're going to select roughs from our scene markers And this will set the playheads on the timeline around the specified number of frames from my scene markers. I can now hit play to play back that animation. The next step will be your cleanup and in-betweening. Select my cleanup and in-betweens from my scene markers, and I can play that back to see that animation. Now within Toon Boom Harmony, you have the option of utilizing your timeline or your X sheet to plan out your animation. I can click on my X sheet. From my X sheet, I'm going to see the different drawings that I have within my scene, the frame number, and the drawing which is exposed on that particular frame and how long that drawing is exposed for. From my X sheet, I am able to mark particular drawings, such as key drawings and breakdowns, in order to better plan out my animation. I select a drawing, and here I can select this to be a key drawing. I can select another, and another. And now I'll add some drawings that are breakdowns, just like this. Anything that I do on my X sheet, I can also do on my timeline. So I can find my drawing on my timeline, and we can see that I have my mark drawing toolbar here as well. I can select a drawing, mark it as a key drawing, another key drawing, and let's have another breakdown. We also have a really awesome feature called our onion skinning. This will allow you to see the previous and the past frames of your animation, allowing you to more effectively create your in-betweenings for your animation. I can click on my onion skin, select my drawing, and now on the screen I can see the past and the future frames of my animation. I even have a controller here that I can increase the number of frames that I visualize from my onion skin. I can also go to my onion skins tab and use this slider to reduce the opacity levels of my onion skin as well. I can also click here to activate my advanced onion skin, where I can choose if I want to see just the future drawings or maybe just the past drawings. You also notice that we have the option to view by frames or by drawings. If I select by drawings, I can now decide to just see the onion skins of the key drawings that I marked, or maybe just the breakdown drawings that I marked. So as you can see, utilizing the advanced onion skin, you have a lot of control over which onion skins you're actually seeing to more effectively plan out your in-betweening. And of course, the next stage is going to be the ink and paint. And now it's time to color our animation. With Harmony, we have a very versatile color management option, as well as different art layers that can be utilized to color your animation as well. So I've selected the ink and paint from my scene markers. And now this is a good moment to talk about the different art layers. So we have the overlay, the line art, the color art, and the underlay art layers. These can also be viewed from your drawing tab. Within your drawing tab, you're only going to be focused in on the particular drawing that you have selected. This will allow you to get rid of any of the other distracting artwork within your scene and focus in on that particular drawing. So we're going to select our color art tab. This is where we're going to see all of the paintable areas of our artwork. Now these areas can be generated while you're drawing, or you can actually use a button to reference the line work and create your color art from that line work. So I'm going to get rid of my paintable areas here. And here we have our create color art from line art. Clicking this will reference the artwork on the line art layer and create the paintable areas on the color art layer. Of course, we're going to need some type of reference to let us know exactly which colors to use in which areas of our character. And we have a very useful reference view in order to import vector references into our scene. I can click on my reference view, go to my library, and with my ink and paint reference, I can simply drag and drop it right into the reference view and have a nice reference to work from. Because this is a vector reference, it's actually utilizing the color palette from my scene. And I can use the reference view to select the particular colors, and it will select them on my color palette for me. I can select my color tab, click on my reference view, and as you can see, it will jump to the palette and the particular color swatch that I need to paint my character. It's also important to note that you can import bitmap references into your reference view as well. Okay, so let's start painting our character. So I'm going to select my character's face color. So I can select my paint tool, zoom in and select the color of my character's face, and start filling in the areas that I know will need the skin color. I can grab his jacket and start filling in those areas, jacket dark as well. By utilizing the onion skin and our paint tool, we can actually paint several frames of animation at the same time. So let's have a look at how you can do that. I'm going to go back to my camera view. I have my paint tool selected, and I'm going to go into the tool properties. From here, I have the option to apply to all frames or apply to onion skin range, which I'm going to select, and I'm going to activate my onion skin. I'm going to go back to my reference view and my color tab, ensure that I have my skin color selected, and I'm going to zoom in. I've selected my color art layer, and using my onion skin, I can now visualize the area where I want to fill with paint. Simply click, turn off my onion skin, and if I scrub through now, we can see that several frames of animation has been painted very easily and very quickly. One other great feature of the color management system is that every individual color swatch has its own unique color identification number. This will allow me to recolor any part of my animation very quickly and easily, and let's have a look. From my scene markers, I've selected colored and the playheads have been set. I'm going to loop this animation. I'm going to go to my color tab, and I'm going to update my jacket dark. I'll double click to bring up my color picker, and from here, I can update the color of my jacket dark in real time as the animation is playing. This is a very useful feature of the software, as this enables you to recolor several frames of animation without having to do it frame by frame. This is because the software will recognize that color identification number and change it for you across the timeline wherever it has been used. Next up, we're going to have a look at the cutout animation pipeline, and we're going to start off by having a look at character rigging. When working in the cutout animation pipeline, you're going to be utilizing character rigs. Character rigs are character puppets that are created from several different drawings that are connected by what's known as a rig hierarchy. This hierarchy can either be visualized from your timeline or from your node view. So let's have a look. So here's my node view and my character rig group. I can go into my group and zoom out so that we can actually visualize the hierarchy. The node view is great for building the hierarchy of your character rigs, but it can also be utilized for creating compositing setups for different effects for your animation. We also have a great tool called the deformer. We can apply these to drawings at the rigging stage, and it gives the animators a tool to help them animate a lot faster at the animation stage. So let's have a look at those. I can select my headphone cable, show the deformer, and use this deformer to deform the cable without having to draw any additional frames of animation. I can also attach another element to the deformation chain, and it will move with any deformation of that particular deformer. With Harmony 24, we've added a new deformer called our shape-aware deformer. Setting this up is very similar to the freeform deformer, but our shape-aware deformer really respects the boundaries of the artwork and allows you to create some really nice deformations. If I select my character scarf and show the deformer, we can see the different points of our shape-aware deformer. I can select these and use them to manipulate different areas of my character scarf without affecting other areas too immensely. If I turn on my deformation mesh, we can see that the area of influence is focused on these points and they fade into the adjacent or neighboring points of the deformer. This allows you to create some really unique deformations within Harmony 24. The Shapewear deformer has 3 modes: the point, bone, and cage, and all of them can be utilized on the same piece of artwork, allowing you to once again create some really unique deformations for your animation. We also have a feature within Harmony allowing you to do auto lip syncing for your animation. So that's what we're going to look at next. With Harmony, you have the option of utilizing the auto lip sync feature to quickly add lip syncing to any completed animation that you might have. So let's have a look. So here we have our scene, and I'm going to play it to hear the audio.
Oh, I can't wait for the weekend. I need a break from coding. Maybe I'll go hiking or try that new cafe. What about you?
As you can see, we have animation on our character. Now we're going to select the audio and use it to apply lip syncing to the mouth drawing. If I select my mouth, I can go to my drawing substitutions to see the different options or drawings that I have for my lip syncing. From my timeline, I can select my audio. I can go to my layer properties and use the detect button to detect the audio within the scene. This option will listen out for the different phonemes within the audio and use that to create the lip syncing for us. Now I click on map and I can choose my destination layer, which will be the mouth. Select it, hit OK, and as you can see, we already have some changes here made to our drawing. I can go back to the beginning of my scene and play it once again.
Oh, I can't wait for the weekend. I need a break from coding. Maybe I'll go hiking or try that new cafe. What about you?
As you can see, this gives you a great base of lip syncing for you to utilize within your scene. Once you have this, you can go to your timeline, find your mouth drawing, and utilize any of the drawing substitutions that you have to finesse and clean up the lip syncing that you created. When rigging in Toon Boom Harmony, you can use the advanced rigging features to create what's known as a master controller. A master controller uses predefined keys on the timeline and uses these to create a controller which the animator can use to pose out their character for the actions that they need in their animation. So let's have a look at what we have in our scene. So here we have our character rig. On the timeline, we can see that we have different keyframes, and these represent different poses for the different rotation or views of our character. As I mentioned, these can be used to create a master controller for a character. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So I'm going to open up another camera view. I'm going to select my MC display so that I can see my master controllers. As you can see, we have the option of working with slider master controllers, both horizontally and vertically. And as well, we have a grid master controller here at the top. Now with our blink master controller, if I zoom into my character, I can use the slider to cycle through the different blink poses for our character. I can utilize my mouth master controller to cycle through the different mouth positions. And with my head tilts master controller, I can utilize this to visualize or pose my character in the different positions for his head tilts. A master controller is very useful because the keyframes that it references has been posed based off of approved poses of the character's design. This will allow animators that aren't very confident in posing their character while staying on model to know that whatever they choose from their master controller will be accurate to the style of the animation. Next up, we're going to have a look at cutout animation, specifically the action templates and how they can be used and reused throughout the animation process. So now we're going to have a look at working in the cutout animation pipeline in Toon Boom Harmony. When you have finished creating all of the keyframes for your animation, you're actually able to save those keyframes as a template within your library. That template can then be used and reused throughout the course of the animation process. So let's have a look at how we can use that. Here within my scene, I have my character rig, and from my library, you can see I have my cutout action TPL. I can simply drag and drop this to my timeline, and once I release, the keyframes will be added to my scene. You'll also notice that the character now has a backpack, so these templates can also hold hidden drawings from your character's rig. If I hit play, we can now see our character's walk cycle. Action templates are a great tool to use in the cutout animation pipeline. It allows you to use and reuse animation without having to plot, say, a walk cycle every time the character needs one within a scene. Next up, we're going to see how we can use multi-layered files within Harmony as well. When working in Toon Boom Harmony, you have the option of utilizing multi-layered files such as PSD files within your scene. The layer structure of these files will be maintained, and then you can arrange these layers at different distances within the 3D space within Harmony and create a really awesome multiplaning effect. Let's have a look. So in my scene, I have imported a background that was created in Photoshop. I can hit play, and we can see that different elements of the scene are moving at different speeds. This is because, as I mentioned, they exist within a 3D space. I can go to my perspective view, zoom out, and rotate my view to see how the layers have been arranged. Utilizing this arrangement and our 3D camera will allow us to create that really awesome multiplane effect that you saw. With Harmony 24, you also have the option of utilizing EXR files with Cryptomat ID information stored within them. This is a great feature that, when used with our new 3D improvements, makes it a lot easier to work within that pipeline within Harmony. Next, we're going to have a look at how we can more effectively work with imported 3D models and rotated 3D surfaces within Harmony. When working in Harmony, you have the option of importing 3D objects from external software such as Maya and Blender. With Harmony 24, you now have the ability to work with the 3D bone structure of 3D models within the software, and we have made improvements to how we can work on 3D rotated layers. So let's play our scene, and we see that we have several elements existing together. We have our 2D elements with our character and background, and we have our 3D elements, our droid and our fare gates that our 2D character is interacting with. With my transform tool selected, I can go to my tool properties, and I notice that I now have a new icon, our bones selection mode. With this enabled, I can select my 3D droid character to visualize the bone structure of that model. I can then utilize the bone structure to reanimate or repose the 3D model within Harmony. We also have support for 3D mesh deformation on 3D characters within Harmony as well. I can select the bone of the torso, and I can rotate it to show the 3D deformation mesh on this 3D model. I can also select the arm and rotate this to show that I can repose this character as well. We have also improved the way that we can work on 3D rotated surfaces within Harmony 24. In previous versions, if you wanted to add 2D assets to 3D surfaces, you need to move between the camera view and the drawing view to make any edits to those 2D assets. Now within Harmony 24, you're able to make any edits to your 2D assets on your 3D rotated surfaces all from within the camera view. I'm going to hide my characters, and I'm going to zoom in on the fare gates. I'm going to go to frame 11, select my drawing, and we can see that we have different drawing substitutions within our drawing substitution tab. Now I'm going to grab my select tool and get rid of this artwork, and I'm going to replace it using the stamp tool. Here we have a nice crack stamp to utilize, and if I move between keyframes, we can see how that stamp updates depending on the rotation of the 3D surface. From within the camera view, I can now just click to add the crack to the surface. Being able to work with the 3D bones of a 3D model and the improvements that we've made to working on 3D surfaces is a great way to more effectively work within the 2D, 3D pipeline within Harmony. Next, we're going to look at how we can composite within Harmony 24 and some of the new features that we've added to make that process a lot simpler. Toon Boom Harmony is an end-to-end animation production solution. With Harmony Premium, you have access to an extensive node library, which you can use to add different effects to different elements within your scene. Within the example, you're going to see a scene which includes elements from several different pipelines, all within the same scene. We're going to utilize these elements as well as some of the compositing nodes to add different effects and finalize the scene. So let's have a look. We're going to play our scene. And as mentioned, we have several different elements. We have our character in the background, which is 2D animated in the paperless pipeline. We have the background, which is a 2D element. We have our 3D elements with the droid and the fare gates. And we also have our character in the foreground, which was from the cutout animation pipeline. As you can see with Harmony, you can have all of these different assets interacting with each other within the same scene. Now let's add some effects to the different elements within the scene to make it look a little better. Let's render our scene and take a snapshot for comparison. We'll have a quick look at the node library so that we can see the amount of effects nodes that we have available to add different effects to our scene. We're going to go into our node view and start activating some of the effects that we have applied to our scene, starting with our volumetric lighting. I'm going to select my compositing group and activate it. And utilizing my snapshot, I can compare what it looked like before and what it looks like now. The snapshot is a great tool in Toon Boom Harmony, allowing you to take a snapshot or a screen grab of your scene that you can use as a comparison when editing your compositing effects. Our character in the background is interacting with a 3D model that we've applied some effects to. Let's activate those. From our node view, we're just going to find our compositing setup, and we're going to activate it. When it's rendered, we can once again utilize our snapshot to see the before and the after. We can see from the node view that we're utilizing very basic effects nodes like the blur and the glow node to apply this really nice glow effect to the prop. With Harmony 24, we've also added improved support for Maya and Blender within the software. If you have these softwares installed on your system, Harmony can utilize them to render out the 3D information of your 3D models and send that information back to Harmony so that you can visualize it in your render view. Our 3D droid character in our scene is actually utilizing the Toon shader from Blender, and we have access to that via the subnode animation node within Harmony. So let's have a look at how we can change the line weight of the outlines on the geometry of our character. From our node view, we're going to find our droid character and select the subnode animation node, and we're going to find it on our timeline. We're going to expand this node, and we're going to look for our line control key. We're going to expand this and find our scale factor. And now we're going to change it to 10. And if I utilize my snapshot and focus on the droid, we can see the difference within that line weight by changing that scale value. And speaking of Toon shaders, Harmony 24 now comes with its own native Toon shader. It is a plug-and-play effects node that you can add underneath your 3D model. And then through the layer properties, you have access to the line weight, RGB and alpha values, as well as the shading and posterizing levels that you can use to customize the look of your 3D model. We have a Toon shader attached to our fare gates. So let's find it in our node view. Here we go. And we're going to activate it and enable it. And already we can see the effect that it has on our 3D surface. We can use our snapshot to see the before and after. And we can go into our layer properties to see we have the line width value, the RGB and alpha values, as well as our shading and posterizing levels. These can be updated to give your 3D model a different look. This is a great new feature, allowing you to customize the look of your 3D models and allow them to be more closely integrated with the 2D assets within your scene. We've also added a new port filtering feature allowing you to tag the outports of your nodes within the node view and filter that information down to imports. This feature allows you to avoid the extra wire connections between nodes and allows an easier way to add compositing effects to different assets within your scene. We're going to utilize this new feature to apply the effects to our cutout character within our scene, as well as add a specific compositing effect to a specific area of that character's rig. So let's find our cutout character within our node view. Here we go, and we can see that we have an import with some filtered information character with effects. I can go into my rig grouped to see that we have a comp setup and we have tagged the output character with effects. And this information is fed down through the wire, through the composite, and out of the group to the composite on the outside. If I click here, I can open up my menu and we can see that we have inverted selected. If I deselect this, in a few seconds, we are able to see that we actually have some compositing effects added to our character. At the rigging stage, character riggers can add tags to different outports within the character's rig for the compositors to then use at the compositing stage, making it a lot easier to apply different effects to the characters or props. We'll now add a saved effect from our library and use the port filtering feature to apply the effect to just the backpack of our character. From my library, I'm going to drag and drop my color curve effect to my node view, and I'm going to drag a cable from my character rig and one to the composite. As you can see, the entire effect has been added to the complete character. Utilizing the port filtering system, we're now going to apply it directly to just the backpack of our character. With my color curve selected, I can right-click, choose port names, add filter to imports to see all of the port names that were added to the outports within my character's rig. I can choose bag comp, click to add another option, choose bag straps, and click once again to utilize the matte mode. And there we have it. As you can see, Harmony has a lot of compositing nodes that you can use to add some really awesome effects to your scene. Now that we've finished adding the effects to our scene, let's have a look at some of the export options that we have to offer. So we've come to the end of the animation pipeline. Our animation has been approved as well as the effects that we've added, so it's now time to export our scene. Harmony offers several export options from the File menu, so let's have a look. Click on File, come down to Export, and we can see the different options that we have. We can render our movie, an animated GIF, SWF, as well as OpenGL frames, and we have now added with Harmony 24 the option to export directly to After Effects. With Harmony, you also have the option of utilizing a write node, allowing you to export specific areas of your scene. With Harmony 24, we have now added a list of variables from your write node, which will allow you to customize the destination folder as well as the exported files. So let's have a look at that. In our node view, we can click on the yellow box of our write node to visualize our layer properties. We can see that we can either export an image sequence or a movie. In this case, we're going to export a movie. Next to the movie folder, our movie file name, we have our input areas. We can hover over these to visualize the different variables that we can use. These variables pull information from the actual scene itself, allowing you to easily customize the destination folder or the exported files. As you can see, Harmony 24 offers a lot of brand new features, allowing you to improve your animation workflow. If you wish to read up on any of the new features or any of the core features of Harmony, please visit our website www.docs.toonboom.com. Thanks for watching.